Okay, so we got a request, a deep dive. Listener wants to know more about this Lisa Marie Presley memoir.
From Here to the Great Unknown.
That's the one. And full disclosure, even just prepping for this, I was like, whoa, this is heavy stuff. More than just your average, celebrity autobiography.
Yeah, and I think that's partly because it's not just her voice we're getting. Having Riley Keough, her daughter, kind of woven in throughout the book, that adds a whole other dimension.
Right. It's like we're almost eavesdropping on a conversation between the two of them about family, fame, all that.
Exactly. And because it's written as this kind of back and forth, we get two very different perspectives on what it was like growing up Presley.
Which, okay, speaking of, can we just talk about Graceland for a sec? I mean, was anyone else picturing this like rock and roll fairy tale childhood? Because,
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I totally get that.
Mhm.
But Lisa Marie's descriptions are, well, a lot more complicated. I mean, she talks about the isolation of it, feeling almost trapped by the legacy surrounding her.
There's this one part, right, where she describes herself as like an animal in a zoo constantly being watched.
Exactly. And that's a really powerful image because it gets at that pressure she must have felt from such a young age to live up to this impossible standard.
And it's something I think a lot of us forget when we think about celebrity kids, right? Like, yeah, they might have privilege, but
But it comes at a cost. The constant scrutiny, the pressure to be something you're not, that can really mess with your sense of self. And I think Lisa Marie's really honest about her struggles with that.
and not just in like a general sense, she gets into specifics.
Yeah.
The addiction, the media scrutiny.
Right. And she doesn't hold back. She talks about this constant pressure to either rebel against her father's legacy or become some perfect embodiment of it. And neither of those options really allows you to figure out who you are.
And it's interesting because you can see how that plays out in her relationships too. The book touches on her marriages.
Yeah, even the Michael Jackson years, which, let's be real, that's something everyone wants to know about.
But it doesn't feel exploitative or anything. If anything, it's more about how those experiences impacted her emotionally, not just the gossip.
I agree. And that's where the book really shines for me, because
Yeah.
it goes beyond the headlines and tries to understand the human impact of that kind of life.
And then, of course, there's the loss of her son, Ben. I mean, that's just.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And it's those chapters where both Lisa Marie and Riley's voices are present
Yeah.
that the book becomes really, really powerful.
Because it's so raw.
Yeah.
You can feel the grief coming through in both their words, and it's something that anyone who's ever experienced loss can connect with.
Absolutely. It reminds you that even in the midst of fame and fortune, grief and loss are universal experiences.
Yeah.
And it makes the book all the more poignant knowing Lisa Marie passed away before it was finished.
Which is kind of what I wanted to ask about, because honestly, when I heard that, I wondered how the book even existed.
It's really a testament to Riley Keough, I think, that she was able to take her mother's words and weave them together with her own in a way that feels so seamless.
Right. It's not like an afterword or anything, it's integrated throughout.
And that's what makes this book so unique. It's not just a memoir, it's a conversation, a dialogue between a mother and daughter about life, love, loss, and legacy.
And it makes you think, you know, how much of who we are is shaped by our family history? How do we find our own voices in the midst of all that? It's something I'm still thinking about, even after finishing the book.
Me too.
Mm.
And I think that's the sign of a good book, isn't it? When it stays with you long after you've turned the last page.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you're even a little bit curious about Lisa Marie Presley, her life, or just what it means to grapple with legacy and find your own way, I